Good afternoon, traders. Joel Elconin here with PreMarket Prep at the close, not for June 29th, but for July 1st here, the first day of July. Real quick market recap. We never got close to that pre-market low of 30.6275. The dip was pretty close off the open. Pre-market low, 89 and a quarter. Just made a late day high. We had 1350 as the high. We just pressed a 1650. Not seeing much as resistance in here. We have 2850. That comes in as your 4-day high. Crude up 55 cents at 39.82. Trying to clear that $40 level once again. Gold hits a brick wall at 1800, hit 1807.70, down 1930 at 1781.20. Silver going in the same direction, a little bit more momentum, down 31.7 cents at 1832. Bitcoin up $155 at 9,340. In lieu of Mr. Israel, who is taking some time off here, we are joined by a good buddy, a good trading friend of mine, Jim Tassoni, a private trader on his own. Jim, how are you doing on this bullish Thursday?
I am doing pretty well, Joel. How about you, my friend?
We're doing good. We're doing good here. Just real quickly, Jim, I know we had you on the pre-market prep show a long time ago. You've done a couple different things in the business. Could you just could you just tell us briefly a little bit about your background and what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So started my career as a lot of us do. Right out of college, went to work for one of the large firms as an analyst at Morgan Stanley. Spent some time there before moving on to UBS, but sort of always had a bit of an entrepreneurial bug. So after another stop at a boutique investment management firm, I went ahead and struck out on my own and started a investment management company that I was able to grow to a reasonable size. And just taking a quick 30,000 foot view, grew it to a reasonable size. And last year was approached about being able to exit and sell the business. And it seemed like a good opportunity for me. I now have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old daughter. Wanted to spend some additional time with them. So just all the
Nice.
stars sort of aligned, was able to sell the business right before all of this
Wow.
COVID mess hit. So I'm not saying I predicted that, but it worked out fairly well from that standpoint. And as you said, now since I've always been trading, and Joel, you know, you and I have been trading and talking markets for over a decade together. But now that I've sold the business as of the first of this year, I'm focused full time on just trading my own family's capital and trying to navigate these insane markets.
You sold the top, Jim. You tried to
Yeah,
sell the top. You
yeah.
sold the top.
Sometimes we get lucky like that, right?
All right, so now you're trading the equity indexes. I know you concentrated a lot on the S&Ps during the market meltdown. Tell us, what you do, what other commodities you look like, and what treats you good and what doesn't treat you good.
Sure. So it's funny. It's only been 6 months now, but I feel like it's been 6 years of trading in the last 6 months. And you and I have discussed this, but the nimbleness that it takes to navigate these markets and the ability to not necessarily deviate from your process, but to be able to adapt to changing market environments. And it seems like we've had dozens of them in the 6 months so far this year, is something that I think all of us traders have had to do. And early on in the year, I was definitely, when volatility was still relatively low, looking at shorter time frames, more scalping opportunities. But as volatility really started to explode into late January and early February, sort of switched up the strategy, started focusing it early on. I was, as you said, I was doing the S&P, I was doing crude, a little bit of gold, and it was doing okay. Then volatility exploded and I knew I needed to hone in, decided to focus on just the S&Ps. There was plenty of volatility there for all of us. So focused on the S&Ps, widened out my time frame, looked for longer trades, holding for a day, 2 days, 3 days, instead of trying to scalp 20, 30, 40-minute trades. And that was definitely a beneficial adjustment for me. And then in the last few weeks, with what I felt, probably 3-4 weeks, what I felt to be a somewhat manipulated S&P market, anybody who glances at their screen between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning can see the overnight pump that we get almost on a nightly basis. I took the opportunity to spread my wings a little bit more, still focused mainly on the equity indices, but now adding in the Russell and the NASDAQ to add some diversification to my overall trading. And those, especially the Russell over the last month, has seemed to be a little bit of a less manipulated market, and I've been able to trade it a little bit more profitably.
A little bit of diversification. And then I know you've dabbled in crude and gold. Any comments on those markets?
So as far as my trading style goes, which is really waiting for a breach of a level I'm looking for, and then a pullback to those levels to get either long or short, I've found the equity indices to work a little bit better for my trading style. I've done okay in crude. Gold just seemed to be an index or a market that I was fighting all the time. I could never really get a great handle on it with my system. I think it's obviously been a market where if you have just basically stayed pretty much bullish and bought those longer term dips down, 1700, 1680, you've been rewarded handsomely. But me being a little bit shorter time frame, I always found that seemed to be prone to stop runs where they would whoosh that thing $15, $20, hit me, and then it'd be back up before you could blink your eyes. So I found that the equity indices respected my technical levels, and I look at a lot of volume profile stuff, and so just more success in those.
Yeah, something Dennis talks a lot about it, changing styles, adapting to the market circumstances. Okay, let's get to some stocks here, and before we'll cover the ones that we talked about on the show. What is your particular trading style? I mean, I know that for your long-term perspective, how do you pick stocks? Are you like a Momo guy hopping on Tesla, Shopify, and these kind of stocks? Or are you more a value guy like Dennis and I?
It's unfortunate that I say I am more of a value guy like you and Dennis, because obviously the Momo guys and the Shopify guys, the Zoom guys, the Tesla guys, they're the guys making the money this year. And I tend to be more of the guy who's looking for stable companies that have competitive advantages, and competitive advantages that are increasing. But the problem is, that works somewhat, but then I'm also looking to buy these companies when they dip. And this hasn't been a market where you've really been rewarded all that much for buying these types of businesses. So I don't own the Zooms, I don't own the Teslas, but I've done okay with the Salesforces and some of these. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on and let's cover some stocks here that we talked about today, and we can throw in any technical comments you have. Here's the S&Ps. Did see what the imbalance. Well, we got the imbalances coming up here in a minute. As I mentioned before, a lot of days when you have up days going into the close, a lot of times the imbalances tend to go in favor of the trend. The day trend is definitely up in an area of little resistance. Yesterday, what we saw was big imbalances of 6 billion to buy at the close, but that was paired off at the end. So we're going to get some fireworks here in just about a minute. But I want to review a few stocks here. FedEx having a great day. That is let me go to the 15-minute chart on this one. They like the earnings reports, and let me click on this one here. And they took it up from the open. and let me include the 24-hour market, and they actually did get it above the pre-market high. We talk about that as stepping points. First things first, when these stocks are momentum, to clear the pre-market high. We did clear the pre-market high. We kept on going. We're kind of where we were when the show started, I believe, at the 157, 158 area. You did get to 163.65, and that did fill a gap. That did fill a gap back from February 21st. Jim, we'll get your comments on this. Maybe I was wrong today. Maybe we got some selling balances. We just hit 1775. Maybe some people lightening up here going into the jobs number. FedEx, that's kind of more of a value stock. Any comments on FedEx?
It's definitely one that's been on my radar. It's somewhat surprising because this is usually a stock that no matter how they report, they get hit on earnings. And so to actually see this thing pop on earnings, and not just pop, but hold the pop throughout the day, has to be a bullish sign for this stock. And so I would definitely be constructive on this name.
Yeah, I can't chase things like this either. I'm not very good at it. A little bit of a surprising move here in Square. It got the upgrade, and this thing usually doesn't move like this. And it is having one big day. Is this something that you want to comment on? Or, boy, I mean, that's a breakout. Right.
Well, and again, like you said, I mean, the hard part is chasing it here. I don't necessarily know that I would be backing up the truck to buy, but I've loved the business for a long time. I think they're in a sweet spot given where we are in the economic conditions that we're looking at. I think they're a great partner with small and medium-sized businesses. I think they have insight into the loans that they're providing that banks just don't see because they have all of the transaction data for all of their clients. And I think it really gives them a handle on being able to provide loans to the companies that have the best opportunities to pay them back. So they're low risk loans. It's a great part of their business. They're in the payment, cashless, contactless payment space, which we all know is only going to continue to increase in the post-COVID world. So great company, great stock, but maybe wait for a little bit of a pullback.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I am really surprised at that breakout today. Clean breakout by a wide margin. And we mentioned this yesterday. Stock Tesla. Have a little bit of Tesla in one of my portfolios. My wife bought it. She was the one that hopped on that train.
We know she's the smart one.
So. Yes, we do that. Smart and nice. It had the big breakout yesterday. You got to respect when a stock clears a breakout by that much. And then it goes up. So shorts are toasting this one. Tesla got to 1135.33 today. It looks like it's backing off a little bit. Good volume yesterday. Good volume today. I don't know, Jim. This is something that's probably not on your radar, correct?
This one has been one that I've had nightmares about for years because I think, I don't know if I read or saw, I think it just hit its 10-year anniversary of its IPO. And gosh, I feel like the whole way up over that entire 10 years, all you've heard is people talk about shorting this stock, and they have just carried shorts out on stretchers left and right for 10 years. So I have not been a participant, sad to say. I wish I have been, but I also have not at least been stupid enough to try to short this runaway train.
Yeah, only a few times have I done that. Shopify, Dennis always talked about it going into the 1,000 breakout yesterday. Clean breakout here. Well, pretty much over 1,000, had those bunch of tops. Boy, oh boy, this is another one that, just one heck of a maneuver firing on all cylinders. I mean, you don't get tempted to short these kind of stocks, huh?
I won't say that I don't get tempted, but I think almost 20 years of market experience have taught me that although it looks real attractive to short the Shopifys, to short the Teslas, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get yourself in trouble trying to short these breakout momentum type names. it's a very difficult thing to do. And Shopify is also a company that's in the right spot at the right time. So they've got things going for them. Valuations are insane. And so that's why I can't get behind it in my portfolio. But as far as the company goes and the prospects for the future, I would be more likely to be a buyer on pullbacks than
Yeah.
trying to short this thing.
All right. I cannot get the imbalances here, but we had a little nice sell off here. We just hit 1775. Here we back down at 0650. I'm not seeing any really relevant news here. I think people just getting a little nervous going into the jobs number. I mean, the expectations are for, I think, 3 million jobs to be added and for the unemployment rate to drop down. But the street little bit nervous going into report. Will you try? And I know that we talk a lot about putting out overnight orders. Will you, if it's like a jobs number the following day, do you kind of lay off, or are you ready to put something on actually ahead of the big report? I mean, you could always trade out of it before the actual number, but
yeah, and I will be looking to, if it comes into levels where trades make sense and where I want to get involved, I don't have a problem getting involved tonight or in the overnight session, having an order out there and going to sleep and seeing what happens in the morning. But more than likely, depending on how the action's gone overnight, if I've got a profit, I'll definitely tighten up my stop
yep.
and or get out of the market ahead of that move. I find it's always easier to trade the news after it breaks than to play that game where you're gambling that it's going to move one way
Yeah,
or the other.
I agree. I agree. As of 3:30, I see market on close seeing 750 million to the buy side. That's nothing. That's a
No.
couple of your orders, Jim. So
And
again, got position squaring. I'm sorry. What were we
no,
going to
I was
say?
just going to say, this market from an S&P standpoint has been unbelievably strong and resilient, and almost no chance to buy it down. And I'm still looking. I mean, I would not be even trying to get bearish here until we got back below 3080. So we stay above 3100. I'm looking for longs here still as we go into the overnight and head into the long weekend.
Okay. All right. Let's just take a look at Pfizer here. I mean, that's the news we all want to hear, right? That vaccines are on the way. Got a little bit silly in the pre-market trading. Pfizer got all the way up to 3508. Pretty thick stock here. Just a couple days of accumulation, down 32 and a half area, and then the nice pop 3405. That was nothing. Compared to I believe the pre-market high, as I said, was 3508. So Pfizer coming in, S&P's coming in here. Let's also take a look at INO. What I think for INO. Bad news for INO because it was good news for Pfizer. This stock, can you see anything technically here? This is a biotech stock. Boy, down $7 today. Is this something that is in your universe of stocks that you follow?
Yeah, and I don't follow this one all that closely. I obviously know it, but not intimately. And I think it's just a situation where you've got a handful of companies that are all racing to be the first one through the door. And when you see news like we saw for Pfizer, these other companies are obviously going to be hit on that. And at the end of the day, I think, though, there could be an opportunity here because I don't think it's just going to be one company or one vaccine or one treatment that we get at the end of the day. I think there's going to be multiple companies that are going to be able to bring things to market. And I can't speak from an expert standpoint on the treatment and vaccine that Inovio is bringing because I don't follow it that closely. But I will say, I don't think it's an all or none, winner take all type scenario. So I wouldn't give up on a company with a promising pharmaceutical just because of a 1 day move or someone else has good news.
All right. Well, you got some action there, Mr. Tassoni. We hit that 1775, and it looks like we were off to the races here. Nope, people are lightening up ahead of the close here. We've dropped 16 handles, made a new high for the shortened holiday trading. You may get a look at that. Way we're falling now, look at that 30.80 overnight. If you get a pop overnight, of course, that 1775, that's today's high. I think that's going to be that will be protected if you get a chance on a rally. And then, as I mentioned, your 4-day high, which will be your 5-day high tomorrow, that's at 31.2850. Well, Mr. Tassoni, thanks for joining me here, filling in for Mr. Israel. Great job. Like to hear about your trading style. And we're going to have to get you on the big show soon.
That sounds great. And I just want to tell you, I wore my Detroit Tigers shirt today, and I had one last comment to make for all you who might be thinking about betting on the shortened baseball season coming up. My prediction that I'll leave you with is the Tigers will not lose 100 games this season.
I don't
Take
even
it to the bank.
I don't even think they're going to lose 61. All right, folks, have a good evening. We'll be back with you tomorrow with Dennis, and Jeremy Newsom is going to be joining us tomorrow. Everyone loves Jeremy. He'll be with us through for a part of the show. I don't know about the whole show. We'll get it through back through the jobs numbers. So once again, everybody, looks like we're trying to hold the 3,100 here. Still a positive day for the market. Back with you with a flawless show tomorrow morning.
Thanks.